to make sure.
Hello and Happy New Year. Welcome to 2022. I'm Michelle Rupp and thanks for joining us today on this episode of AFMC TV. Of course, it's the beginning of the new year and what is on everyone's mind? Resolutions, goals, maybe habits, whatever adjective you use, we're going to talk about it this morning. And we're going to get things kicked off with Ken Clark, a friend of the show, our therapist, if you will, out at Chenal Family Therapy. And Ken, first of all, Happy New Year.
Thank you. I'm excited. Any new year, new chance at a do-over is welcome right now, right? Like in the middle of all this craziness. So Happy New Year. Happy new start.
So I'm curious, first of all, where does the idea of resolutions, where does that come from?
I think it's probably as old as humanity itself. I think probably we put names on it in recent memory, but humans have always looked at their situation and had the capacity to think of something better, right? That's one of the things that makes us different than probably the rest of the animal kingdom. Very few dogs aspire to move to a bigger house with a bigger yard. It's something we do as humans. The term itself, goal, right? I mean, it really is taken on a sports connotation, scoring the points, changing the scoreboard. But it's as old as humans themselves to look at their situations and long for something more and to try and plot a path to get there.
So it is. It's a new year. It's a new opportunity to start fresh. How can we ensure some success as we are looking at, well, I guess I'll try setting resolutions or goals again this year. They didn't last too long last year, but we'll try it again this year.
Yeah, so probably one on a big philosophical level, the biggest problem is that we do this every December, January, instead of doing it all year long, right? This is a reflection of the fact that we maybe dropped the ball the other 10 or 11, 12 months of the year. And now we're feeling like we need to bring about some change. So the number one thing that you could resolve to do is not have this be a December, January process, right? That resolving to stop and look at where you're at quarterly is probably a really good habit. We think a quarterly retreat with self, just a couple hours at your local coffee shop, sitting down and thinking through where do I want to go in the next 90 days is a much, much better discipline than our reactive end of the year. I need to lose a few pounds and spend a little less money and all that kind of stuff. Number two, this is the core problem in my field in human psychology is how do we motivate people, right? Like if it were that easy to crack the code on that, we'd probably be in a lot better shape. What goals really are is a reflection of where procrastination and things like that exist the rest of the year. Right? Goals are this mental self-talk that we're going to overcome the lack of motivation that was previously there. And so what we say a lot in my office is that procrastination exists where a choice exists, right? And part of what we really need to do if we really want to make changes in our lives is remove choice by adding routine. And so that's what we would really encourage you towards is any of these things that you're looking at that you want to do, not just in January, but all year long. If there are not solid routines built around achieving those goals, they will likely not be achieved because human choice always picks the path of least resistance, which often is Netflix instead of the Peloton.
That's right. Well, and I was going to ask, what is an example of choosing that routine over the choice?
Yeah, probably in its simplest, it's I'm going to go to the gym every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 7 a.m. as opposed to I'm going to go to the gym more in 2022, right? So now that by itself, that routine can be strengthened by adding a workout buddy, or shifting your job schedule or who gets your kids to school or whatever, right? So the more that we support those routines with other actions, but general goals that don't have a routine attached to them are probably just a hope. They're probably just a dream. Goal is when we attach a routine and action to it and begin moving towards it. So that's what we would really do is, it's kind of the old SMART goals. You've heard these, a specific, measurable, all that kind of stuff. Pick days, pick times, pick partners, really make it real. Get it on the calendar, set alarms on your phone. Otherwise, it's just a hope that's going to slip into the chaos of the new year.
And also not losing sight of the fact that what works for you may not work for your spouse or may not work with your friends in terms of how you are setting these goals, these resolutions, whether you do it monthly or quarterly or or start in January and hope for the best that following December you're still in the game.
Yeah, ignore your friends on social media that brag about another hard 4:30 a.m. workout. We all don't like those people, right? Don't compare yourself. In the end, whatever works for you works, right? When we talk about it in a sports analogy, it may be an ugly touchdown, but it's still a touchdown, right? In the end, if you get the behaviors done, that's what matters most, not how pretty it is or how you do it compared to the other people that seem to have it so dialed in. Figure out what works for you, because that's what ultimately is going to bring about change in the long run.
That's right, because at the end of the day, we do want to be successful. There's something about that gold star. There's something about looking at your to-do list. Everything's crossed off. You can wad it up and throw it away. That triggers that sensor in our brain that, hey, job well done, you did it.
And one of the places that we screw ourselves up sometimes is becoming too aspirational in a short period of time, right? There's that real kind of famous quote, people overestimate what they can accomplish in a year and underestimate what they can accomplish in 5 or 10. When I do a lot of business planning and executive coaching, one of the things we really try and get people to do is think of 3-year change, not just 1 year. That weight loss or that amount of money you want in the bank or whatever, take that and divide it by 3 and accomplish 1/3 of it this year. We know if we set the bar too high, we don't notice progress. We don't get that kind of dopamine release of getting the gold star on our chart. If we aspire to too much, it doesn't ever look like change is occurring. If we are more reasonable and break it up over a couple of years, it can become a healthier habit instead of a behavioral binge. And it's probably more likely to, number one, be achieved, but number two, be sustained. So be realistic with yourself. Don't shoot for the moon. Just make good progress this year.
That is excellent advice. And at the end of the day, we have been through it these last couple of years, and we should never lose sight of giving ourselves some grace because we've been through it.
It's kind of like finishing a marathon. It doesn't matter where you finish, what your time is. It's impressive nonetheless that you went 26.2 miles or whatever.
0.2.
Yeah, right. In the last couple of years, like just the fact that you're listening and considering what change looks like after life has given you an excuse to just want to hide under the covers. Thumbs up. I'm impressed, right? Be proud of yourself that you're even showing up today. That says a lot about you and your character and your grit.
Any final thoughts?
Oh, it's all of us. The good news is all of us are setting these, and most of us are failing at them. So you talked about giving yourself grace. Probably the way we would say it clinically is ditch the shame, ditch the negative self-talk that somehow you're worse than everybody else or less motivated. Everybody needs to institute some change in their life. We all struggle to do it. The last thing you need to do is strap a heavy backpack full of self-loathing onto yourself. So go easy on yourself, folks.
All right, Ken, always great advice. Happy New Year. We're excited to see where 2022 takes us, for sure.
Let's do it. I'm excited for a good year.
JJ Mayo joins us now. And JJ, first of all, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you, Michelle. Glad to be here.
Yes, 2022. We are ready for you. We wanted
ready or not, here it comes.
Here it comes. That's right. So we've been talking about resolutions, goals, perfecting or creating better habits. And I was reading the other day and saw that weight loss and working out were the top. I think it was number 2 and number 3 out of the top 5 goals or resolutions that we as humans set at the beginning of each year. And I'm sure that comes as no surprise to you.
Yeah, weight loss and getting to the gym and getting fit and healthy for 2022. That's everyone's resolution. But let me just do this and back up for a second. And what I would like to do with the viewers is give you kind of a different perspective. And so let me back up first and just talk about why achieving those goals and those New Year's resolutions are so hard. Right? Because we do, they're hard. And a lot of people will say, I've lost my motivation or they think that they're not working hard enough. But really just realize that it has to do with neuroscience. So there's a part of the brain called the amygdala. And what it does, a part of the brain, and it actually prevents us from making these behavior changes. It wants to keep us safe. And so this part of the brain, we're wired in a certain way, and we've been doing these habits for weeks and months and years. And so when you start to change those, then the brain's like, wait a minute, this is not the way we're used to this. And so it wants us to prevent pain. It wants to prevent fear and to keep us safe. And so it's really a brain science thing that's really hard. The reason that the New Year's resolutions are so hard. And especially with weight loss, the first thing I would suggest for people that want to be successful, and we're talking long term here, is I know this is going to be different than most people because I'm not going to focus on SMART goals. We've heard that before, right? And 95% of the people that I've worked with, because they didn't write the perfect SMART goal, that's not why they weren't successful. The first step is to let go of the past. And let that sink in. Let go of the past. Because what I've learned is that for you to receive and let in, you got to be able to let go. And in particularly with weight loss, we're talking about letting go of those old stories, those old beliefs, those old perspectives that are keeping you from moving forward. Because a lot of times how it went in the past is we're basically predicting our future. And once you slip up a couple of times early in the year, you're like, oh, I've always been a failure. I've never been able to do this and been unsuccessful. So I must not be able to do it again. And so letting go is kind of the first step that when I work with clients, that we do is just forget about the past and try not to predict the future. Right. And so letting go is important and letting go of those old stories like I'm not good enough, or this will never work for me, and that negative self-talk. So that's the first big step, is letting go.
What would be the next step? Because I love that. And you can apply this really to not just weight loss and working out. I mean, there's probably a lot of things we need to let go.
This works for any goal. It really does. So letting go of why you haven't been successful in those negative thoughts. The next step is really big. Okay. It's the why. Why are you wanting to achieve that goal? And if we look at weight loss, oftentimes, they want to lose the weight. Everybody focuses on the goal. Like, I want to lose 50 pounds or I want to lose 30 pounds. But if you dig deeper with that, Michelle, it's really like to find that drive, the big why. It's like, why do you want to lose the weight? If you dig deeper, most of the time there's something, there's a reason besides just the weight. What is that going to do for the individual, for people out there that want to lose weight? What is that really going to do for you? Is it going to help you have more energy to play with your kids? Is it going to help you be around to do a better job taking care of your elderly parents? There has to be a big why. And I've heard this saying before that if your why is big enough, if you have a big enough why, then the how is pretty easy. You figure out a way to get it done.
And any why is good enough in terms of, someone may want to lose, 10 pounds so that, and their why is because I want to look good for swimsuit season. And that's okay. Whether that's your why, or as you use the examples of wanting to have more energy or wanting to be able to play with the kids or wanting to just start to have healthier habits, whatever that why is, it's your why, it's my why, and it's okay.
Exactly. It's okay. And your why may change over time. Yeah. Like, I just want to stay in my pants. I don't want to buy a bigger, pair of pants. But then later on, it may be something else down the road. So if you can come up with that why, that's really going to be a big key to success and keep you motivated. We were talking about motivation, right? Motivation is kind of like a flashlight battery. It starts out really bright when those batteries are new, but then after a while, it kind of runs out. So if you can come up with this big why, I think that'll go a long way into helping your success.
And how do we stay motivated? Because sometimes we think, I've lost my motivation, or I must not have enough willpower. And I guess that kind of all circles back to just what's going on in our brains and in our minds.
It really is. And so, so we talked about letting go. We talked about the why. But another way to think of this is, and this is a question I would ask anyone who's trying to lose weight or just set any goal, achieve it. Who do you need to become to achieve that goal? I do this with my clients. So think about that. Who do you need to become? In other words, you've got your person A, where you are now, and then you've got B. This is who you want to be. This is where you want to go. Well, what if you started acting like, and just ask yourself, if I already had the weight loss, if I already had lost 50 pounds, if I'd already quit the tobacco, what would that person be doing? And the activities, the behaviors, how would they think? What would they do, on a regular basis? So if you start, and you don't have to wait until you get there to start acting like you've already lost the weight, right? You need to just start doing those behaviors. There's a couple of books I can recommend. One is Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Successful People. I don't know if you've heard of Stephen Covey. His second habit is begin with the end in mind. And so that's so true. That if you start acting like the person, that you want to become, then those habits will fall into place. There's another book too that's kind of on the same idea from a guy named James Clear. It's super popular, called Atomic Habits. And they all kind of, it's a super popular book. But the thing is, they do it a little differently. The Atomic Habits book basically talks about identity. And changing your identity, because that's where it starts. A lot of people will do, the outcome goals, which is lose the 50 pounds, or they'll set goals, behavioral goals like, okay, I want to go to the gym. But really it starts from what I just mentioned. It starts with the person. The change really begins from the inside out instead of the number on the scale.
You're exactly right. And that's how we get behavioral change, is changing from the inside out. So whether it's, again, weight loss or the motivation to get in the gym or what have you, I'm curious about wellness and self-care. Sometimes your resolution may be as simple as to just have some self-care, or making that a priority. But particularly as women, we might think of self-care as getting manicures and pedicures on our birthday, and that's it. Well, you can't really do one day of self-care, but there are little things, right, that you could do kind of throughout the year that go hand in hand with wellness. It's all part of that circle.
Yes. And so, I see this a lot with the ladies, and you mentioned this, that usually the women are too busy. They're so busy taking care of everybody else that they put themselves last. And I would say in the year 2022, let's put yourself first, because if you can't be healthy and you can't get your habits under control, then you're not going to be able to take care of others that you love, really long term.
And you're not being selfish by making yourself that priority, because a lot of times we as women like to think, I can't put myself first. That's selfish of me to do.
Right. And it's absolutely just the opposite. Yeah, it's the opposite way. A lot of things that we think of health related are hashtag backwards than what they should be, right?
That's good. That's good. Well, JJ, in our final moments, is there anything else that you would like to say or add?
Yeah, I think everybody, it's just about the progress and not perfection. Another thing that come to mind is, we get so focused and so serious about our goals, is that why not try to make a game of it? Try to make it fun and have because there was the holidays and we're all around with family playing games, and when we're playing games with family, we play a game called Catchphrase, our family does, and it's a fun game with a buzzer and all that. And it doesn't really matter who wins or loses, right? We always seem to think our whole world revolves around either we got the goal or we didn't, right? But I'd say step back and have fun and enjoy the process, and make a game out of it. So that would be my tip.
That's good. I like that. Progress, not perfection. That is a very powerful statement.
Yeah. Enjoy the journey.
All right. JJ, thank you for joining us today.
Appreciate it, Michelle. Have a great day. Happy New Year, everybody.
Happy New Year. And thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you back here next week for more AFMC TV.